Now I'm going to turn things over to Boston Dance Theater's founder and co-director, Jessie Jeanne Stinnett, to introduce herself, the dance company, and this very special performance. Hi, Jessie.
Thank you, Veronique. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessie. Thank you so much for being here. As Veronique mentioned, I am the founder and co-artistic director of Boston Dance Theater. We are a Boston-based contemporary repertory dance company. We have a commitment to expanding the scope of contemporary dance performance practice within our city. And part of that effort is our current art and science project, Surge, which we are thrilled to share with you this evening. Surge is an ongoing collaboration between Boston Dance Theater and ocean researcher Dr. Larry J. Pratt, who is a senior researcher at WHOI Oceanographic Institution. Surge addresses the current climate crisis through the lens of sea level rise, and also the role that art and science collaboration can play in creating a sustainable future. Tonight, we're going to share with you just a very short excerpt of what will be a full-length evening performance, which we hope will have the opportunity to premiere in the summer of 2021. I just want to thank Woods Hole for the opportunity to share this work, and also to invite viewers at home, if you wish to learn more about our current programming, which is supported by the generosity of individual donors, please visit our website, which is www.bostondancetheater.com. And at this point, I'd love to welcome the performers into the space, and I will step away and hope that you enjoy the performance. Thank you.
I stepped onto the canoe and learned it is possible to live with the earth rather than purely residing on its surface.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl born on the islands of Puerto Rico. Her hometown was Isla Verde, a pueblo in the city of San Juan. And in this village, there was a magical land she had discovered called the beach.
His bones were soft and cartilaginous until his body made contact with salted water. A calcification cycle was closed, abandoned forever the sweet placental liquids of his creators.
That sea is warming and rising. The hurricanes are getting wetter and more intense. That, along with a lack of maintenance, climate change is pushing houses, buildings, seawall.
Six inches of sea level rise in the past 15 years has increased storm surges and tainted my drinking water. And my parents used to laugh when they heard Boston is the 5th most vulnerable coastal city to flooding from sea level rise in the United States.
Isn't it interesting how the same water that floats you could be the same water that drowns you?
Strolling along the roads, my field of vision of the sea was restricted as a result of my meager height at 5 years old. However, the picture of the seascape magnified with each and every step. When we were 2 blocks away from the waterfront, the color of the vast sea began to differentiate from the deep blue that could be perceived from afar into different shades and hues of azure and viridian.
Another universe inaugurated, where mainland ends, transmuting his fits into genuine fins. A blue depth seduced by courage, respect. A marine tale taught by multicolored scales.
The city of Boston is no longer the same. Even the simple things like drinking and cooking with clean water is no longer simple. The neighborhoods that raised me, Dorchester and Roxbury, filled with people who look like me, rely on that water.
In a small town, Santa Cruz del Norte, in the north side of the island Cuba, I was born. The balcony of the 4th floor of my building was looking straight forward to the ocean, like 2 blocks away. I used to spend time walking in the rough and pointing rocks of the coast, gazing beyond that beauty, peaceful, blue-calm water.
The urban areas along the coast, where 80% of the population resided, was now replaced by rising, briny waters. My family and friends were forced out of our home and country. The degradation of the land, soil, fauna, flora, society, and culture has turned this place that we used to call a home into a lifeless wasteland. The surface of the viscous waters fluxed and flowed as if it were
Some people read the sea.
an intricately
It's predicted that
composed
In their relationships.
I'm starting with the fact that about 20% of Cuban land
symphonic
Perhaps the sea
To the
will
stars.
become
The
submerged.
city
was
of Boston
nothing
is no
more
longer the same.
A
lullaby.
van star on the
than the
Malecón
idea
Habanero.
of leaving
Even the
his
simple
body,
things,
The city
Sea
iconic
level.
sea
A
wall.
deep
the
reflection.
turbulent
like
surface.
drinking,
will
The
rise.
elegant
cooking.
cromwell
Within
Clean
myself.
water.
Monster
Rest.
Boulevard, who face a
is no
building
longer
Wine.
simple.
Bottom of the ocean.
Thank you, dancers of the Boston Dance Theater, for that beautiful interpretation of sea level rise through movement and word. Joining Jessie Stinnett and me to talk about the performance is WHOI senior scientist and physical oceanographer Dr. Larry J. Pratt. His research focuses on the physics of climate and deep ocean currents, but he's here tonight because he was a science and production collaborator with Jessie and the Boston Dance Theater on this project about sea level rise. Larry and Jessie, thank you for joining us. We have a few questions from the audience for you. Larry, let's start with you. Are you a dancer yourself?
Well, first of all, thanks everyone for tuning in. Actually, 10 years ago, I knew nothing about dance. And since then, I've taken a bunch of classes and for fun. And one of the things about taking dance classes is that it does help you kind of speak the same language as the dancers and the choreographers speak. But you wouldn't want to pay to see me dance.
Tell us a little bit more about how you made the connection as a scientist, and you talked about sort of the language of dance being different from that of science. How did you make that connection from your scientific research to dance and to this particular project with the Boston Dance Theater?
Well, I'm interested in the physics of ocean circulation, and there's a lot of real beauty and mystery there, and in terms of looking at things like waves and meandering currents and turbulence. So there's a natural connection right there with the dynamics of dance. And as far as the project with Boston Dance Theater goes, I've known Jessie for a while. We met at a dance workshop. We had been talking about collaborating on something for a few years. And the sea level rise was actually her idea. And she went out and got a grant funded to get things started. And I've been functioning as a science consultant. Also been doing some other things. One of the problems that arose right from the beginning, which was last spring, was that there was the pandemic. There were some live performances that were canceled. There was a residency that was canceled, and so Jessie and I brainstormed a little bit about maybe making a dance video and doing it outdoors where we could, everyone could space out. I knew of a place on the Cape where the tide comes in rapidly. It's out near Wellfleet. And if you go there at low tide and watch the tide come in, you can see sandbars and islands, and you kind of disappear right before your eyes. So it's a great place to make a video on sea level rise. And so that's what we did. We shot it last July, and I helped scout the area and help with figuring out the tides and lots of other little things like that.
Neat. Jessie, do you want to kind of give us your point of view sort of in the other direction? How do you see dance as connecting with science?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I just wanted to add or to augment what Larry was saying in that his role has been supportive of us in our work in so many different ways, and I think that by having the ability of bringing Larry into the studio with us right away from the beginning of this creation process, it really allowed for me and also my co-collaborators, because we really do work collaboratively in creation process here in Boston Dance Theater. It allowed us to sort of reimagine or deconstruct some of our more traditional ways of creating. And that sort of ability to really look to the science for different perspectives has carried through all the way to now when we're thinking about presenting the work. So, I think the interaction with the science has allowed us to really open up some bigger questions about what are we doing? Like, how are we making our work? What are we really making it about? And where do we see this work fitting into the field? So I just wanted to say that, that Larry's presence has been very helpful and also has carried us along through all of the stages from creation to performance to imagining production.
That's neat. Jessie, it sounds like just from the performance that many of your dancers are originally from islands, and I know one is from the island of Cape Verde. As you may know, we actually have quite a few Cape Verdeans living here on Cape Cod, where WHOI is. Henoch Spinola, would you mind coming forward up to the camera and telling us a little bit about your personal connection to sea level rise?
Absolutely. Well, so as already mentioned, I am from Cabo Verde, otherwise known as Cape Verde, but I am based here in Boston. I cannot say that I've been directly experienced the effects of sea level rise, but I can say that I have treasured memories of living in Cabo Verde and being within the rich culture there and its profoundly deep connection with the ocean. But something that's concerning is that the way of life, the society, and the heritage surrounding Cabo Verde is at risk of being completely disrupted by sea level rise, coupled with droughts, flooding, and coastal erosion. In a sense, it's a, I see it as being problematic because my point of origin is also at risk of being completely inhospitable, and that is the fate that is shared among many other small island nation states.
Would any of the other dancers like to add anything? I don't want to put you on the spot, but just in case. Okay, no worries.
Taimi, you want to say something? No?
Sorry, say the question one more time.
She's just asking if any of the other dancers want to speak
About the
about
question.
the question.
Just about your personal connection to the piece.
And maybe the work.
Okay. Thank you.
Say your name, please.
Taimi Miranda. So I come from Cuba. Part of what I was speaking in the piece is about my story. I born like 2 blocks away from the coast, so I pretty much spend most of my time connecting with it. I have experience. I have some friends there that grew up in a neighborhood where it's like really close to the coast, like 20 feet away. And when I came back to my country 2 years ago, I was completely baffled by seeing the repercussion of so many hurricanes passing through. And that neighborhood completely was like destroyed, basically. One of the part that I speak about is about the Malecón Habanero, which is in Havana. And I also, it has happening over the years that with the cold fronts and the hurricanes, you can see that how the water come inside and trespass the seawall, and people have to get out of their houses or the buildings and just move for a while until that water, drains out. So I basically feel really connected with this project because I have seen that, and I guess by seeing it, you can feel it. And yeah, I don't have so much to say about it, but yeah.
Thank you very much. We have a question, another question from the audience about asking sort of about the piece itself and how long a piece like this would normally take to prepare.
That's a great question, and I think it has a really special answer for us right now, because as Larry mentioned, we really started the creation process for this work. We started in January, but in March was when we were going to be heading really full-time into the creation process, and that's right when the lockdowns from the COVID-19 pandemic hit Boston. So this creation process was interrupted, and at the time it felt devastating to all of us. We normally would start rehearsing in January and then have an hour length work finished and ready to perform by June. But I think I speak for myself and maybe for the others too, that I think that being forced to pause and to slow down and to have time to get into deep and sometimes challenging and sometimes emotional conversations as a cohort has allowed us to go into places that we never imagined. Like Larry mentioned, we created a film. We have been working through a virtual series of our own through Boston Dance Theater this fall. We're considering embedding the work within a particular community in Boston that's eminently going to be affected by sea level rise, like some of the other areas and peoples that the dancers have mentioned, have seen already, are already experiencing. So yeah, this work, I don't know when it's gonna end, honestly, because we keep finding new meaning in every iteration that we're diving into. So I kind of answered it, but also it's open, I think, for us.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid that's all we have time for, but I just want to thank all of you, all the dancers, Jessie and Larry, for joining us for that very special performance.